Welcome, football fans. Today is October 15th, 2019. This is the road to 2020, and this is the XFL Show. I'm Alan.
And I'm Bryant.
And we are on the XFL's YouTube channel and social media, Bryant. It's kind of a takeover of sorts on XFL Draft Day 1.
I've been a part of many takeovers, but this one is the best. We are here live in Stamford, Connecticut, living within all the other XFL corporate people. This is going to be great. This is unimaginable, is what I'm saying.
It's great because outside of the walls we're recording in is chaos with people, doing their jobs, working, cameras. The draft is getting set up. We are less than an hour away. But this morning, the quarterbacks came out, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to have content on the XFL's YouTube channel and social media channels all day long. We are live in the building with everybody. We're going to have interviews. We're going to be do I have to do the intro every single time?
How about that was one time we'll just say I'm Alan and I'm Bryant the whole time.
I'll see how I feel. I'll see how I feel. But we definitely encourage you to keep it locked to the XFL's social media channels and YouTube channel all day long. The draft, I believe, Bryant, is going to be all the information streaming on YouTube, so you could keep an eye out on what's going on live, but also for interviews and for little mini podcasts like this one. Keep it locked to the YouTube channel throughout the day and tomorrow, because we're going to give you all sorts of great content to keep you informed and hyped up for the XFL. And the first big bit of news, the 8 quarterbacks have been assigned to their teams, Bryant, and we're going to run them all down. I just want to first start off saying I wonder where Landry Jones went.
Alan, the biggest secret of the world is no secret no more. Landry Jones ends up with the Dallas Renegades. We'll go over all of them. We were driving over here to the building when it came out this morning, so we're here reacting live with you guys as it comes out. But yes, Alan, all 8 quarterbacks have been assigned. We're going to blow through them here real quick. Get you a little bit of insight, and then get you ready for this draft that's happening in less than an hour, like you said.
Yeah, we got to get through this and then get set up for the draft. So let's talk quarterbacks. First up is Landry Jones, Dallas Renegades. Bob Stoops, his former Oklahoma Sooner quarterback, Bryant. No surprise to anybody. I'm just very curious and interested to hear what the other coaches felt about him just falling into Bob Stoops' lap. But we'll have to get some interviews hopefully today or tomorrow and get some insight into that. But this obviously makes a ton of sense for Bob Stoops to have a player he coached in college. I mean, the Dallas Renegades, one word that springs to mind, comfortable. They're all comfortable with each other. Old friends, Hal Mummy, Bob Stoops, now Landry Jones in the mix. The Dallas Renegades are a comfortable bunch of Renegades, and that air raid should be fun to watch with a guy who knows what he's doing with all the pro experience Landry Jones has.
Now, I will say that he hasn't played for Coach Stoops in almost 8 years by the time kickoff happens in 2020, so that's going to be a huge experience. But Alan, here I have some stats on him. Over 16,000 yards passing while at the University of Oklahoma, including almost 1,400 completions, as well as 123 touchdowns. Landry Jones might be the biggest quarterback this league has, and he fell right in the lap of Bob Stoops. Good for him. Good for Bob Stoops. Landry Jones is going to be comfortable there in Dallas, I'm sure. It's going to be a great offense there for Hal Mummy to start figuring out what he's going to do.
Yeah, but it's going to be interesting to see how everybody combats that, because there are some other very interesting and experienced names that fell to some XFL teams among the 8 quarterbacks, especially the next guy I think on our list here, Bryant, going to the DC Defenders.
Cardale Jones. There was some talk Norm Chow really was interested in this quarterback, but he follows the Pep in D.C. That's pretty big. He's a former Charger quarterback. He got drafted by the Buffalo Bills, if I'm not mistaken, a few years ago. So a good get for the D.C. Defenders, and really just I can't imagine
your boy Norm Chow.
I know. I was really shocked that I thought he was going to end up in L.A., especially with the San Diego/L.A. ties. He's going to be in D.C. quarterback in Pep's system, though.
Yeah, and that's very interesting, because Pep Hamilton, I feel, is going to be running a balanced type of attack, and Cardale Jones is kind of this statuesque quarterback who could throw the ball deep. So who knows? Maybe they'll have some play action there in D.C. Had an interesting conversation before we pressed record here, Bryant. Someone brought up who's the best Ohio State quarterback in D.C. now.
Well, one of them's playing.
One of them's actually going to play, Cardale. Dwayne Haskins we don't know about with Washington. But, Cardale Jones bounces from some practice squads and training camps in the NFL this past summer, and he lands with Pep Hamilton in D.C. makes a lot of sense with how I feel Pep Hamilton's going to approach offense in this league. I think he'll have one of the more balanced attacks, one of the attacks that probably utilizes the deep ball. Cardell Jones makes sense for him. Where are we going next?
Well, so we have Phillip Walker, Houston Roughnecks, going to be down there with June Jones, the 4-year Temple University graduated 2016, over 10,000 yards passing in college, along with 72 touchdowns. A huge get for the Houston Roughnecks, Alan. Tell me what you think about Phillip Walker.
Phillip Walker brought Temple football to prominence of sorts. I would say essentially got Matt Rule his job at Baylor with how well he played and how Temple kind of came out of nowhere to become, a thorn in the sides of some college football teams back when he was in college. And now out of college for a few years, Phillip Walker joins the Houston Roughnecks in June Jones's offense, which is going to be, I feel, probably a spread attack and probably something that's going to ask him to make a lot of quick decisions. And I think Phillip Walker, having the experience playing with Matt Rule in a similar style, but also with the Indianapolis Colts, who knows what he must have learned on the practice squad, being near Andrew Luck for those few years.
That's a great player and person to be around if you're going to learn from somebody. I will say this, Alan, if you want to talk about how much Temple relied on this man, he is the all-time leader in pass attempts at the University of Temple. So that's pretty...
Temple University,
I guess I should say, excuse me.
Put some respect on the Owls. Woo. Also, remember when we thought Owls would be one of the XFL team names?
Yes, that's true. Did we say that? Okay.
He's a winner, though. 10-win season's no joke in college football. Phillip Walker really, I think, fits like a glove with June Jones in Houston.
Well, Alan, we're going to move over to the West Coast
now.
my God. And the LA Wildcats.
I can't believe
talked about this, man, a couple of times. Now, we had this conversation off air right when we heard the news, so we're going to talk a little bit more in depth right now. So excuse us if we go into a little bit more in depth about the LA Wildcats quarterback Luis Perez. Alan, I'm saying this is a good get, and the main reason is if you talk about what he did this past spring, he was ruling in a team that I very much similarly think that it will be the LA team, in a defense-oriented team. You need a game manager. Luis Perez is that. With Winston Moss managing the defense, I think that's what you're going to see in LA.
I mean, of all these quarterbacks that we're talking about right now, Luis Perez most recently played in, I would say, high-stakes pro football compared to all these other guys who have been just in practice squads or playing preseason games. He was playing with the Birmingham Iron in the AAF, and the reason I find it interesting is because he's playing for Winston Moss, a defensive coach, and he played for a defensive coach, Tim Lewis, in Birmingham, and they were a very defensive-minded team. But at the end of that season, like when that league failed,
we've talked about
they were putting up points.
Well, yeah, they were.
So up until then, I felt like he was kind of a game manager, but he can throw a lot and complete a lot of passes, which he did in college, and he was doing at the end of that AAF season. So I can't believe your guy went to your team. It's great.
You called him my guy?
You've talked about Luis Perez more than any other quarterback on this show ever.
How many quarterbacks do you know are also professional bowlers? Tell me that right now.
Yeah, you're right.
The patience, the focus that you have to be one of those types of quarterback, those types of bowlers. He's gonna be a great quarterback for LA. I'm really actually happy that the LA ended up with Luis Perez. I'm sure Coach Moss has a perfect game plan. Norm Chow can do wonders with anyone if you really think about the talent he had in USC.
Yeah, think about Luis Perez did all right in the AAF, but he didn't have Norm Chow to work with.
Norm Chow made Matt Leinart look like a first-round pick. He made Reggie Bush look like a first-round pick.
Norm Chow's the Heisman whisperer, I'll call him. So that's the best part about
for you young people out there. He's the old Lincoln Riley, is what he is.
he's the OG Lincoln Riley, and he didn't need to take other schools' quarterbacks. They recruited him.
Yes, there you go. Alan, we're going to go down the list here too to the New York Guardians. Your friend, right?
Penn State Nittany Lion, Matt McGloin, who is, I mean, he
was to Penn State, by the way, not to Matt McGloin.
Yeah. He was a walk-on at Penn State, though, which is crazy to think. And he went, he goes there and he sets records, and then he gets experience. He's played in NFL regular season games for the Raiders, so this is one of the more hardened guys to to get a shot at the XFL here, because this guy's been through, the ringer in the NFL a little bit, especially playing not just in the NFL, but with a bad NFL team, taking lumps, knowing the mistakes that you can make in those type of games. The experience factor for Matt McGloin, very, very positive for the New York Guardians. Also, I would label him probably as a guy you're hoping could just be one of the ultimate game managers. And in a Kevin Gilbride offense, as we've seen with Eli Manning in the past, you could do that. You could have success, because Kevin Gilbride's probably going to also, today in the draft and tomorrow, I think, I've been saying, try to set up a team that can run the football as well. And Matt McGloin running that kind of offense makes sense. And, the personality, the style, paired with Kevin Gilbride, again, I think a coach probably got the guy he wanted.
And you're talking about a guy who has 7 years of NFL experience, whether it be on a practice squad or an actual roster. Something that the XFL can definitely use, especially in New York, where the market's going to be huge. A lot of eyeballs are going to be on that team out there. So huge get. First ever quarterback. The last time a quarterback who walked on the field in Penn State and started. I have to go back to 1949, Alan. So that's a long time ago.
It is. And the interesting thing so far about the quarterbacks we've hit on, we've got, 3 left? All these guys except one I have some kind of pro experience, have been out of college for a minute at least. But this next guy, he wet behind the ears, I feel, and ready to go. And I'm like super excited for the quarterback in St. Louis, because this is an SEC football player that really I thought when he played at Ole Miss had sneaky Heisman potential. Obviously didn't pan out, but St. Louis got a good one.
They did, Alan, and very rarely am I excited for things in St. Louis nowadays, but I am excited for this. I am excited for you Battlehawks fans out there. Alan, I'm going to leave it to you, though, because I don't want to butcher this one.
Jordan Ta'amu! Or just Jordan Ta'amu. Yeah. Jordan Ta'amu is an exciting player.
The Hawaiian native that went to Ole Miss, very exciting players from what I remember, what I've been told. The Battlehawks got themselves a great quarterback. Alan, why would you say that he was sneaky Heisman, though?
Well, because he's got all those kind of tools you want in a modern day college quarterback. He can run. He could throw for a lot of yards. He could throw deep. He threw for 4,000 yards, I think, or 400-yard games constantly, I think, in college. He ended up with almost 6,000 career passing yards. I mean, he had Ole Miss in games they shouldn't have been in. He took over for a really good quarterback that, I was hoping would be on this list, named Chad Kelly, but he performed admirably after Chad Kelly. Maybe he didn't have the big wins against Alabama, but Jordan Ta'amu is, I would almost call, one of those kind of five-tool type guys, just a guy who could do everything and has great athleticism and is youngest of all these quarterbacks assigned to the teams today.
He is, and St. Louis is going to have a quarterback for the future, I guess, here if they can wrap him up and play with him well out there. I will say this. He's still not as good as Luis Perez. All right, Alan.
Oh, throwing shade at St. Louis already. Week 1's going to be great.
We will talk another quarterback.
Schedule's not out yet, though. That was just a guess.
That was just a guess, yes. We have the Seattle Dragons going back to the Northwest now, Alan, and Brandon Silvers. We saw him in the AAF as well. He is the only quarterback to win an overtime game in spring football on this list. Kind of wasn't there at the very beginning. Kind of got overshadowed by the whole John Manziel news that happened in the AAF, but he is a great quarterback, very solid, and something that Seattle should be very excited about.
Yeah, and a quarterback that NFL teams took notice of after the AAF folded, and he was in some camps. He was with the Jets and, had a shot at making their roster. Didn't end up happening. I can't believe they didn't retain him when, all their quarterbacks got hurt and Sam Darnold was out. But now he's with the Seattle Dragons, and I'm still going to stick with Jim Zorn's probably going to stock up on quarterbacks and make it
enough.
Out
on that. People got called out on that because they said our silliness for thinking that a quarterback is going to be taken in phase 1, round 1.
I don't think it's that silly. We'll see. We're going to find out in less than, 40 minutes? Yeah. But even if it doesn't, there's going to be other quarterbacks in that camp. And Brandon Silvers knows how to win a quarterback battle should he face one in Seattle. He knows how to come out on top. And he was in Memphis, was not the presumed starter. And then John Manziel showed up and was supposed to fall by the wayside behind him, and it ended up overtaking him as well. So Brandon Silver's a guy who has a lot to offer. And we hope we'll get him on the show. We've been trying to get him on the show for a while, actually. But that's exciting to see he got picked up as one of the first quarterbacks to go among the 8 assigned QBs. Of course, more to be drafted later today. One more quarterback, though, to talk about in Tampa Bay.
And you're talking about a quarterback that, again, didn't start in the AF, and we don't know why. Everybody was clamoring for him down there in Atlanta. Erin Murray for the Tampa Bay Vipers. Alan, what do you think Marc Trestman's going to do with this man?
I think Marc Trestman's going to hopefully start this man because he was picked high in the AF as well and didn't end up starting. And he's a great analyst as well for
Which shows good insight, good brain, good
SEC Network.
sense.
So, yeah, Erin Murray is a football scholar. Erin Murray has been around now for a while. I mean, he's in the limelight at least because he was playing in gigantic college football games going back to, 2011? I mean, he's well known. If you follow college football, Erin Murray was a great quarterback at the University of Georgia. And as a pro, bouncing around a whole lot of different places, finding a niche as a analyst of college football, but obviously has this hunger to keep playing. He played for the Atlanta Legends in the AAF. And, I mean, a rocket arm, a guy who I think is smart enough to run any style of offense, and working with a super offensive genius like Marc Trestman. I mean, I don't think it could have turned out any better for Erin Murray. If he ends up being the actual starter in Tampa Bay, I've been saying it the whole offseason, going in on this road to 2020. Marc Trestman, if I'm a quarterback, is the coach in the offense I want to play in. And I think Erin Murray got a good draw himself, and I think they got a good draw in Tampa Bay because he's a guy who could really handle, I think, anything you throw at him.
Marc Trestman is probably the most experienced coach when it comes to second-tier football. He's coached in the CFL for many years, won many. What's their championship called?
Great Cup.
Great Cup. Yes,
it's like 102 years. It's like the oldest Stanley trophy in the world.
But regardless, huge get for Tampa. Huge get, I would even say, for Erin Murray. I would say to get assigned and to get placed on that team is actually a great thing for him. I will say this. He should have started a lot more games in the AF. Don't let his lack of stats in that league deter you in any way, shape, or form. This is great for the XFL. 8 quarterbacks assigned now, and we're moving forward. It's draft time, baby. This is just the first of many times you're going to hear our voices here today and tomorrow. Yeah, keep it locked to the XFL's YouTube channel for sure. Keep track of all the draft picks, and please also make sure you check out everything in the XFL draft playlist we have here on the XFL's YouTube channel because we're going to be churning out content and putting it right there for you. We might even do some live interviews later. We're just calling it here in the boardroom. We've got our own boardroom. We've got our own makeshift studio. We have been invited here as guests. We are ecstatic. It is a big day, big couple of days, and we're happy to bring you everything you need to know about the XFL draft, information-wise, but also to hopefully give you a sneak peek on what's going on behind the scenes here because this is big time and this is historic. And we have our 8 quarterbacks, and now let's fill out some teams. 70 rounds to go. Are you ready? I am not ready, but we're going to be as ready as possible because there's a lot of teams being drafted. Keep it locked, like I said, like Alan said. The draft is going to be streaming live on YouTube with all the players being assigned one by one. And keep it locked here. The XFL Show's got you covered for this big, monumentous day for the XFL if you really think about it.
Yeah, where's the coffee room? I'm going to go grab one before this draft starts, and we'll be back with more analysis, more breakdowns, interviews, and a ton of stuff for you today. XFL Draft. Happy Draft Day, everybody. For Bryant, I'm Alan. This is the XFL Show. Remember, they're listening.